This is the Bax and Grant Sports Show presented by Sports Radio America. I'm Bax.
This is Grant.
Welcome to a Wednesday edition of the show. It is Hump Day, as we always say on Wednesdays. Grant, give me a Hump Day.
Hump Day.
There it is. Grant, the official camel of the Bax and Grant Sports. I don't know. They're the Geico camel, I guess. But it is the Bax and Grant Sports Show presented by Sports Radio America. We are here Monday, Wednesday, Fridays. It's Wednesday, Grant, so that means intern Laura is here.
Whoop, whoop.
And she'll be here on Friday as well, and she's debuting a new segment today.
Ooh.
I need like an audience clap, like, something of that nature. The studio audience is lacking this morning, but it'll be called Laura's Thingamabopper. It's a working title, but we don't really have a title for it, but Laura's going to bestow some interesting and very unique knowledge on us.
Yeah, I have no idea even.
We really
I'm
really
ready.
don't know what
I'm
we got
excited.
ourselves into. We agreed to it, and hopefully she doesn't get us fired. But that's all we
cross
can.
our fingers.
Yeah, that's all we can hope for with intern Laura. But she does have a Twitter now, Grant.
Ooh.
The masses can finally rest because intern Laura is now on Twitter. You can find her on Twitter at intern Laura BGSS. So check her out, follow her, and look for all sorts of insightful things that she will spew on the Twitter universe. Remember, Grant, people can follow us on Twitter as well.
Yes, at BG Sports Show.
Indeed.
Also, you can follow us or follow. I don't
You can
know,
like us on Facebook, yeah.
but you can still follow.
I mean,
it's weird.
you could Facebook stalk us if you want. If that's
yeah,
following.
if you want.
On
Yeah,
I suppose.
But you can like our Facebook page at the Bax and Grad Sports Show. You can also email us at bgsportshow at gmail.com. Excuse me.
Indeed. 3 different ways for you to get a hold of us if you so choose. And you, like we said, you can follow me on Twitter at Baxter Colburn. You can follow Grant at...
I think it's CU Smith 94.
Yep, and then obviously intern Laura BGSS. You got Connor Christensen as well, who shows up on Fridays for our weekly health fitness tip. You can find him at ConnorDC126. I don't even know how I know that, but I just do.
That's impressive. Because I was like, I don't even know.
Somehow I happen to know that. But anyway, everything we do it for you, the people, which is why we do this. We love the people. We're all about the people, Grant.
All for the people.
Always for the people.
And if you have any questions, anything like that, even during the show, we have Twitter and stuff like that ready to go. We check during the break. Any questions, any comments that you had on a past segment, anything like that, any articles that you find we might, like if you said it's an article, we won't obviously get it to the show, but possibly the next show you might see it. So anything interesting that you guys find or want us to talk about, just send it our way.
Yep, exactly. Now, we have been asking an interesting question on social media, Grant, for all our listeners. We're asking listeners who their favorite guest is on the show.
Oh,
we've been
okay.
we've been working on this for the last few episodes, or the last maybe 2 days. We've been asking people and haven't gotten any responses yet because I'm sure people don't want to offend anybody. But
right.
I've just wanted to ask the question because we've had a whole slew of guests come through. We've had Connor Christensen, Zach Poppenfuss, Megan Landvatter, Joel Wolfrath. We had Josh Scheibe for an episode. And, I mean, our ratings blew through the roof because he was here, which is to be expected
Obviously,
when Josh Scheibe stops
yes.
by the show. I mean, obviously intern Laura, but she's very much a part of our show, as you know, you and I are. So she doesn't count as a guest. She's a package deal with us now, which is fine. You know, we're taking our show on the road too soon, Grant.
We are.
We're going to Florida.
Woo woo. We're big time now.
Yeah, exactly. We will be in Florida starting. When is that? 2 weeks.
Yep. Friday of next week.
That's right. Yep. Friday we'll be headed on down to Florida, so make sure to check out our episodes there. But Grant, we should probably talk about sports, huh?
I guess.
I mean, it's up to you if you really feel like talking
I guess
about
that's
sports.
why we're here.
I guess.
It's the sports show.
Oh, the sports show. It makes so much more sense now.
Yeah, I was confused myself when I woke up, which I mean is not really hard because when I wake up, I really don't know my right and my left.
Hey.
But I mean...
it happens to the best of us, Grant. It really does. Unfortunately, what does happen to some people more than often is injuries.
Oh, that is true.
Hence,
very true.
And I said I was going to be a little mean on the show this morning, and this is true. The amount of times that Derrick Rose has gotten hurt, I feel like we need to invent a drinking game for Derrick Rose. It's like, Derrick Rose got hurt again,
Very
there's
true.
a drink. Like, no offense, but Derrick Rose has more injuries than,
Right.
It's just bad.
If I can't even think of a player that is more injury-prone than Derrick Rose is. He has missed so many games. I would even go out and say that the Bulls have paid him more for being injured than for actually producing in any way, because he played one full season, his rookie season, I believe, and that was by far his best season. He went off. Everybody was like, oh my gosh, he's the best. And then he gets an ACL injury, I believe, once.
Yep.
He gets all these other types of injuries, and I don't even remember because there's been so many. But now he has a torn meniscus.
Yep, in his right knee, unfortunately.
Yeah, and it apparently happened in a November game against the Trailblazers, which...
How do you go that long without understanding
know.
that you have a torn meniscus in your right knee? And I understand adrenaline, all that jazz. You can play through it for the most part, but I have relatively bad knees from playing soccer and football. But if I had a torn meniscus, I feel like I'd notice it after, back in November, for gosh sakes.
Well, and it looks like from what I was reading, it looks like he kind of injured it, and then at one point it just got sore, and then he was like, okay, kind of whatever, and then it got really bad because it kept on tearing more and more, but he just didn't realize it. But still, if you feel something sore and you're as injury prone as he is, you need to get it checked out.
Exactly.
You can't keep on playing. You can't keep on playing at it, especially like we said with all the injuries he's had. So I don't think it was very smart of Rose or the organization. I don't know if it was just kind of it's one of those, re-injured it and then it got really bad, just thought it was like a sore muscle or something, even though I don't know how you could say that about a knee, or if it was something behind the door saying, do you think you can play through this, but we're not going to let the media know because we know we're going to hear
a lot of
about
time
it.
That's kind of how it works too with certain injuries and certain athletes as well. Derrick Rose is arguably the face of the Bulls franchise. He's probably been the focal point of the Bulls since even guys like Michael Jordan left. That's how much attention. He's not a Michael Jordan caliber player, but when you say the Chicago Bulls back in the day, Michael Jordan. You say the Chicago Bulls today, Derrick Rose.
Right.
Those are the guys that you associate with the Chicago Bulls organization. And when you have the face of your franchise continually get hurt, like we've said, to say, hey, listen, Derrick, I understand you're dealing with a little bit of an injury, but can you play through it? Maybe we won't have you play full games, but can we still get you on the court? Can you contribute? Our team is looking really good. We're making a playoff push, things like that. And I'm sure they probably had a doctor check it out, because I really hope they weren't foolish enough to say, look, man, you're fine. Don't listen to the doctor. Yeah, you might get hurt a little bit more. Nah, you'll be fine. That would be very unethical and very problematic, and certainly would not end well for anybody involved in that situation. But another interesting situation, Grant, swirling around the NFL, and it's just a pure rumor more than anything, but it's always fun to talk about the what-if part of it, is the small rumor that Percy Harvin might go to the Green Bay Packers.
And he's not a cornerback.
He's not, like you thought he was.
Okay. No, so Baxter pulls up this article, and it was...
It's my fault now.
No, I'm not saying it's your fault. It said something about a corner, and I was like, wait, I thought he was a wide receiver. And I'm just tired and just done at this point. And like I mentioned before, I don't know my right from my left this morning. And
it happens. We all have these days, Grant.
I was like, okay, believe
everybody
the
makes
internet.
mistakes. Everybody has those days.
Okay, you're done.
Nobody's perfect. Miley Cyrus for the ladies and gentlemen. Thank you. But, it's interesting, though, about this possibility of Percy Harvin going to the Packers, because according to Mike Florio of Pro Football Talk, if the Jets and Percy Harvin can't reach a deal again, there's 3 teams circling like sharks, apparently, to want to sign him. 2 AFC teams and an NFC team. The Chargers, the Packers, and the Patriots. Patriots makes kind of sense. I feel like Harvin has kind of had a weird career where he was decent with the Vikings, had some injury problems, went to the Jets, went to the Seahawks. Wasn't crazy dynamic. But I feel like New England, of all places, or Green Bay really, could whip him into shape and really utilize him. Imagine Randall Cobb and Percy Harvin on the same team. They're pretty close to the same player.
And Jordy Nelson, too.
Yeah.
And then maybe getting Abbrederis. And so that would be a fantastic receiving core. But the only thing with my concern with New York Jets getting him over to the Patriots, the thing is, I would think that the Jets would try to want to get rid, or the Jets would not want him to go to the Patriots because they're their big rival.
Of course not, but money talks.
Right.
Especially in the NFL.
Right.
I'm sure Packer fans didn't want Brett Favre to go to the Vikings.
True.
True. You can beg and plead as much as you want, but I'm sure we've seen that more than once. Even way back in the day. Wasn't it Babe Ruth that was a Red Sox and then he went to the Yankees? Wasn't that what the deal was back in the day?
Oh,
Or
I
what
don't
was he?
remember.
I thought he was something back in the day.
He was
There
originally a Yankee.
There was a Yankee. Okay, I thought there was something. I thought there was like a really big name in the past that
Right.
was on a rival team and then went to the other rival team, sort of a thing. But
But then also you can think of that. Just think of a top Patriots wide receiver. They don't have
Julian Edelman.
right, but they don't have as explosive as the receiving core as the Packers do. So he might want a little bit more playing time and
Yeah.
say, I would probably, depending.
It would be hard to break in Green Bay.
He is would be looking at third wide receiver, maybe second if he can beat Randall Cobb out, which I doubt it. So
Yeah.
he wouldn't be looking as much playing time as he'd want.
Yeah, but if Randall Cobb does for some reason leave,
True.
that
Very true.
raises a whole nother
Right.
sort of thing, which, Lord willing, he won't.
I don't think
Who
he
knows?
will.
I heard the Oakland
personally-
Raiders are starting to make a big push for Randall Cobb, which is, as I call it, Grant, the black pit of hell of the NFL. So I really don't... For Randall Cobb's career's sake, I pray that he does not
Right.
go to Oakland. We saw that happen to James Jones. So
Yep.
we'll see what happens to that. When we're going to take a quick break, when we come back, we're going to talk about the Cleveland Browns. I think that's what that says. The Cleveland Browns.
Brown pit of hell?
The brown pit of hell, the dog pit. We're not going to. Anyway, this is the Bax and Grant Sports Show presented by Sports Radio America. Welcome back to the Bax and Grant Sports Show presented by Sports Radio America. This is Bax.
And I'm Grant.
Are you sure?
I'm sure.
It's been a few weeks since I've asked. I just had to double check. You sound a little lower in voice than I normally remember you.
Well, that's a good thing.
Yes.
I'm okay with that.
Are we on NPR again, Grant?
This is NPR?
This is the Bax and Grant Sports Show presented by Sports Radio America on NPR. No? No? Okay. Anyway, it's always fun.
Nobody even knows what we're talking about.
Exactly,
That part of the
because
show
we
got
lost
cut
it.
off.
Oh, I was so mad. For those of you that don't know, oh gosh, it was a while ago.
Yeah, it was. I think
a-
it was actually before. It was the show before we went over to Sports Radio America.
I think so.
believe.
Yeah, I think it was. And we were messing around during the show, and somehow NPR comes up. I'm not really sure how NPR came into the show, but it did, and we did about a 40 seconds of the show in an NPR voice, and it was pure gold. And we go back to listen to it after the show, and we lost connection during the show, and that was the dead space, was that segment. And it's
It
like,
was really
you hear me
unfortunate.
start to talk about it and be like, and now this is NPR, and I'm gone. Just absolutely
You were
gone.
so mad.
Oh, I threw a chair. Grant. I was so upset. It happens. But anyway, Grant, tell us a little bit about what ESPN is doing right now. They just recently released a very interesting article. It seems like they took a lot of time, really, to put it together. Tell us about it.
Well, it's called the Great Analytics Rankings, and they took 122 teams from the top sports, you could say, in America. They did not include the MLS, which Baxter and I were a little
Ridiculous.
shocked. I was like,
Okay,
oh.
but just for 2 seconds, it's not the MLS. It's just
It's
MLS.
MLS.
It's MLS. It's not the Major League Soccer. It's
The
Major League
Ohio State.
Sorry. Don't get me started on the Ohio State.
All right,
Anyway.
so they had baseball, basketball, hockey, and football. Now, I just they put it into rankings that there was teams that were all in, that were believers in the analytics system. They had 1 foot in, they were skeptics or non-believers. And basically, it was just looking at which of the teams had analyzers just all the time looking at players, that analyzed the players on their team and which player, numbers-wise, would be the best player to fit in their system.
And you need that. You need to
Right.
really be able to dive into a player and kind of pick them apart, as it were, and analyze them and say, oh, okay, this player's a good pick or this isn't. And like you said, certain teams use it more than others. And you were even telling me about a story that a certain team used it to draft a certain player.
Yeah.
They didn't do a very good job looking back, but anyway.
The Cleveland Browns used analytics to pick up Johnny Manziel. So it's a little interesting to think of how really helpful that was if it was just the analyzers just didn't do a really good job. But looking at what he did, it's obviously not impressive the season that he had. Now, they put together... And
he didn't have a good season?
No, he did not. Yeah, shocker of the year.
What?
Yeah, he didn't have a great season.
Wow. Where have I been?
I don't know.
Who knows?
Under a rock, probably.
Probably.
But anyway, over all the sports, they compiled the top 10 and the bottom 10. And I'll just read off a couple from each.
Please do.
So the Sixers, of all teams,
oh, great team,
is the number one team in analytics.
In terms of getting the first-round draft pick in the NBA draft this year. No? They got to be first at something. But they have a second thing that they're first on now. That's terrific. Well done, 76ers. Well done.
Proud of you.
Proud.
And then the Rays are in there.
Tampa Bay Devil Rays.
The Yankees. Yes, Tampa Bay Devil Rays. Excuse me. The New York Yankees, the Spurs, the Dallas Mavericks, and the Chicago Blackhawks are number 10. Are
your
you
favorite team? The Blackhawks.
Blackhawks. Just love them so much.
Great team.
And then looking over at the bottom 10, you have the Lakers.
Which is weird.
You think that's weird?
I feel like they'd be more involved with analytics.
Really? I don't see it. I wouldn't see it.
Well, I mean, it's Kobe, and then it's the rest of the team.
Pretty much.
But at the same time, though, like, the rest of the team, I feel like once you get past, Count Kobe, as it were, Lord Kobe, you got to have some other,
right.
I don't know. I mean, anyway, continue.
They're probably too focused on Kobe.
Probably all their analytics are on Kobe, basically. Even while he's not playing there, I'm sure they're still analyzing him.
But so you have the Lakers, the New York Jets, Tennessee Titans, Brooklyn Nets, the Chargers, and Redskins, and the Phillies. Now, minus the 76ers, which is kind of weird. It kind of does make the point that analytics is not the surefire way. Also looking at Johnny Manziel, it's not a surefire way to determine if this player is good. You can't just look at the numbers, but you can kind of see that the top 10 teams versus the bottom 10 teams, there was a lot better top 10 teams than there were in the bottom 10, even though analytics does not prove it's not the surefire way. It is beneficial, though, in the long run.
Yes, yeah.
So the more you can put towards analytics, we're not saying put all your eggs in one basket. I think it's just
not
saying...
Easter yet, Grant, so no, of course not.
It's getting close. It's Lent right now.
It is.
Anyway,
how are you doing with your Lenten promises? And
I said I'd never give anything up for Lent.
Sometimes I didn't give anything up either. So
you're just a bad person, then.
How? You see, the thing with Lent is you either give something up or you add something, and I decided to add intern Laura to the show.
Oh, there you go.
You're welcome, Sports World. You're welcome.
You're welcome, Lent.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Jesus, for intern Laura. There you go. Anyway, continue.
Anyway, it just goes to show that don't put all of your hope into analytics, but you can put some of your hope into it. And if anybody's interested in looking at it in depth, because there's so much information, 100-plus teams from across America.
I didn't see the Packers on there, at least in the top 10.
No, they're in the 1 foot in category.
Makes sense. That's a very Ted Thompson thing.
Right. Because I was reading it, and it was saying they have an analyzer, but they're not, like, super involved in it, but they're building on it. But yeah, you can look at your favorite team, see what they're doing with analytics. If you feel like they should use more, you can contact us and you can say, hey, Bex and Grant, I think that so-and-so should use it more. And then we'll be like, okay, this is why we agree with you. This is why we don't agree with you.
Certainly.
But yeah, analytics, it was really interesting. But if you're interested in
some
reading
people
it,
are big about that. Yeah, I know. For me, like I enjoy. It's funny because I hate math. Absolutely hate math, but I love sports stats
and
analytics. I will eat it up for days, but you ask me to multiply 3 times 7, and I'll tell you it's 84. So that's just kind of how it goes.
And if you're interested in at looking all these, it's not like numbers. It's basically just one huge article. It's on ESPN.com, and I found it near the bottom. It was one of their main things because it took a lot of time for them to do this. Because they basically went out and contacted everything. A team contacted all their sources. Yeah, except for MLS.
I'm over it.
It's okay. It's okay. Nobody cares yet. They will.
They still don't. I probably won't for a while. Speaking of things that people don't care about, Grant.
Transitions.
The Cleveland Browns. The focal point of people and teams that just don't care.
Hey, people care about the Cleveland Browns.
They got a new logo.
They did?
It's the same one.
Why did they
But it's new.
What's new about
There's
it?
some... We'll have to ask Connor Christensen to tell us about it because he was telling me about it yesterday. But there is something new. It's just imagine the orange Cleveland Browns logo, but oranger. Brighter, bolder.
It's just dumb.
Exotic. That is the Cleveland Browns.
But if you get too bright, then you're the Bengals.
Well, yes, but they have some weird thing that goes along. They have different color face masks now as well. There's a whole ordeal that goes in with it, so we'll have to ask Connor about it on Friday. But the Cleveland Browns, Grant, are a special, special team. They really are. I don't know why we're even giving them this much airtime because that's just kind of how it goes sometimes.
We were cheering for the Browns last season to make it into the playoffs. Just stop giving them crap. They did decent for the organization that they were. They did pretty decent this season.
You are correct. You are correct. But the Cleveland Browns right now are in the process of trying to figure out what they're going to do with the quarterback position next year because rumors are Brian Hoyer wants to get out of Dodge, rightfully so. I wouldn't want to be a part of that organization either. I just want to get out and... Grant, I'd go to Jacksonville, for gosh sakes, to get out of Cleveland. That's how much I would probably not want to be in Cleveland.
And I think Jacksonville would probably benefit because I think Hoyer is a fairly decent quarterback.
He is, but they've got Blake Bortles, so that's by and by. But there's rumors that he might go to the Jets.
They could also use a quarterback.
Exactly, because right now the rumors is that 2 Tampa Bay Buccaneer quarterbacks are debating. Well, actually, McCown's not even a Buccaneers quarterback anymore. He was released. But Josh McCown and Mike Glennon are both rumored to possibly sign with the team. Probably not both, but one of them might, because Johnny Manziel is Johnny Rehab right now. You've got Brian Hoyer, who's probably going to New York or who knows where, and then you really have nobody left after that. I think there's another quarterback there, but he's not even really worth mentioning. So Mike Glennon, a young up-and-comer, or you've got Josh McCown, who had one good season. I feel like Josh McCown inherited Matt Flynn syndrome, where he had a good slew of games for the Bears when Jay Cutler was hurt, went to Tampa Bay, got paid a ton of money, and now he doesn't have a job.
Right.
So I'm not exactly sure what's going to happen with that. Out of the two, I'd probably take Glennon.
Right.
The long-term aspect of Glennon makes a lot more sense. McCown might be a short-term fix, but, I mean, Cleveland's got a long ways to go. There's no real fix right away.
Well, and with McCown, we were talking before the show, and I'm not a really big fan of McCown because when we were watching him during the Packer game, I was just like, this guy can't hit anything. And before the show, I made the comment. I said McCown couldn't hit the broadside of a barn with an inflated football. So,
not an underinflated
not
football?
an underinflated football.
Oh, boy.
No.
Okay.
Not an underinflated football.
Well, that means...
They say it's finally over. Because
it'll never be over because then it'll storm back.
Like 5 years later,
Probably.
ESPN will do a 2-hour special.
Yeah, 30 for 30.
Behind the scenes of Deflategate.
Oh, you said the words, Grant.
Dun,
you
dun,
weren't supposed to say the words. But I would like you to say the words of this day's rant. If that's possible.
I guess.
Okay, I appreciate it. All right, it's time for Grant's Rant, the part of the show where Grant comes out and sings a silly song. Well, that's not it. That's VeggieTales, but same basic concept. Grant, 30 seconds on the clock. You get to say anything you want about the sports world. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Get set, go!
So Kansas State beat Kansas 70-63 on Monday night, and the fans stormed the court.
Woo!
And then a Kansas State fan by the name of Powers elbowed one trailer after they were storming the court and just threw an elbow to the face. He sent a letter to the editor, but really? After you win, you're going to take malice out. Even though you still won, you're just going to elbow a star player like that, even though that's their career. I was just really
Some
scummy.
people don't know how to handle themselves in public.
It was really scummy.
That's why we do a radio show.
It's why this is why this guy goes to college. Well, this is not why the guy goes to college, but it's a big part of his life, and you're putting what he loves to do at risk because you just want I don't even know if it's your 10 minutes of fame. You just are being mean.
Yeah, I really don't know exactly why would you do that? It doesn't make any sense to me, but we're going to take another fast break. When we come back, we're going to talk a little bit more college basketball. Wisconsin is making Grant and I sob miserably, and then intern Laura is going to debut her thingamabob or whatever the heck we're going to call it, and we're going to play What If? This is the Bax and Grant Sports Show presented by Sports Radio America. Welcome back to the Bax and Grant Sports Show presented by Sports Radio America. I'm Bax.
This is Grant.
Grant, you were crying when you came in this morning, Grant. You were sobbing pitifully. I think you rended your garments and you put on sackcloth and ashes.
I theoretically was crying.
Theoretically, you weren't physically mourning.
No, but I wanted to.
Why were you hypothetically weeping?
Because once again, Madison sports in general, as a whole, every single sport cannot win the big game, minus college hockey. But other than that,
college hockey, love it.
They cannot win the big game.
Why not, Grant?
They're just bad, apparently. I'm just gonna believe.
You hear that, Wisconsin? You're just bad. Okay.
Wisconsin sports last night just plummeted for me because I am just sick and tired of Wisconsin being an excellent team, being in the Big Ten, nobody giving them crap.
It's like the Big 15, basically. But
anyway,
I'm over it.
Being the underdog, and then facing a team that's ranked that they should be able to beat, or a team that, in my opinion, they're better than, and then need to win, and then lose. They do it time after time after time.
It's very true. And it's funny because you look at the game last night. Maryland defeating Wisconsin at Maryland by a score of 59-53. It always happens to Wisconsin this way, where there is at least one player on the opposing team that usually doesn't do a whole lot of anything throughout the season. And then, Lord of Lords, the one game he decides to show up is against Wisconsin.
Right.
And we saw that happen last night with a few different players. Frank Kaminsky led all Wisconsin players, though, 18 points, so a good game from him. Sam Decker doing what he does with every other category. He led all the other ones. But then Maryland, their leading scorer dropped 26 points. I don't know his first name right now. Des Wells, 26 points. Just a fantastic game from him. He just really could not be stopped. But the big thing that we were all kind of afraid of is that Maryland was able to successfully shut Frank Kaminsky down.
Right.
And as Kaminsky goes, so goes the Badgers' offense.
Well, another big point in the game that was doubly upsetting was Wisconsin was leading the half. By how much, Baxter? Guess by how much?
I'd like to say 15 for 500.
It was 11 points.
11?
They led.
Wisconsin was winning by 11 at half.
Yes, Wisconsin was winning 11 at 11. At half by 11, excuse me. Jeez, I cannot talk.
It happens. It's all right.
And then they shot 30% from the field in the second half.
Wow. Yeah, that's just a true decline. And I forget where I was reading it this morning, but there was an article that I was reading saying that a player for Maryland who had barely played all season long came into the game after the first media timeout, all 7-1 of him, and basically put a blanket on Frank Kaminsky the rest of the night, and Kaminsky was just pretty much useless from there on out, because he just heckled and hassled Kaminsky all over the floor, and Kaminsky just was not able to do anything positive for the rest of the game, which really hurt Wisconsin. And that's the issue with Wisconsin sometimes, is that they do have that one good player. And you shut down the one good player, Like we said, there's usually not enough players, but we do. Wisconsin has a good amount of players, though, that even with Kamitsky having, a bad game, quote
It wasn't
unquote,
even a bad game. That was a fairly decent game for him.
Yeah, you drop 18 points, I'd hope you're having a semi-decent game.
That's fairly decent for college.
It wasn't 26 like, that Des Wells had, but it was
Right.
still a good amount of points.
Right, and I just actually want to point out a mistake that I said. Wisconsin shot 30% from the field in the first half. So that also brings up a recurring problem when Wisconsin doesn't show up, they don't shoot well, they bring teams back to the game because Wisconsin can defensively destroys a team, but then they go to the other half of the floor, they're not the biggest offensive scoring team, and when they miss like they do, they let teams back into it, and it's happened a couple times in the season where if they were playing better teams, they probably would have lost the game, but because they weren't playing as high caliber of teams, they ended up pulling out a win. But this goes to show that they're definitely not invincible because it's just what they do. It's because they're not the high-powered offense team and they don't score as much. This game could have been over with the half. They could have been up by 25 if they just connected on 15 more percent of their shots, which Wisconsin can do. That's the thing. Wisconsin has the ability to do that, and they just don't, which is upsetting.
It is very upsetting, and there was talk last night on ESPN Radio that Wisconsin is almost guaranteed a number one spot when it comes to Selection Sunday in 3 weeks, but
not anymore, in my opinion.
Based off of how they played last night, I feel like they will be at least a 2 seed. Maryland was rumored to be about a 4 or 5 seed after their win last night. Definitely watch them to jump up to maybe even a 3 seed, depending on how the rest of the tournament. They still have the Big Ten tournament. That is what the real defining moment is in college basketball. Your conference tournament. And then from there, you jump into the tournament, the NCAA tournament from there.
If Wisconsin wants a 2 seed, because I think they just lost a 1 seed with the game last night, but if they want a 2 seed, they need to win out the rest of the season. They need to win out the regular season and finish the Big Ten.
And one of those games is Ohio State.
It is.
Which is going to be quite the interesting
game.
And
they also have Michigan State coming up their next game as
well. But they're
not
as good as they've been, though.
But Michigan State is not a bad team. I believe they actually were in the top 25 or close to the top 25 at one point this season. So they're not a bad team.
That's true.
Because Wisconsin did lose to, I believe it was Rutgers of all teams.
Rutgers, the bottom of the Big Ten, the scum of the Big Ten. No offense to Rutgers, but they are. They're the worst team in the Big Ten, and Wisconsin found a way to lose.
Right. So in ESPN's mind, the worst college basketball team.
Basically, because that's how it is. Like, they lost to the worst team in the Big Ten. They lost to a Division III Wisconsin Lutheran College. Upset Wisconsin. No, that's not that high. Anyway, it's time for Laura's thingamabopper badooper badoppadoo. I'm not exactly sure what it is, but intern Laura is going to bestow some interesting knowledge on us. Laura, welcome.
Hello.
How are you this morning?
I'm actually very great this morning. How are you?
I am overjoyed. Overjoyed. I can't speak for Grant. I try to speak for Grant, but that never ends up well.
Yeah, you really shouldn't. You make me mad.
Grant's great today. He's really good.
I'm in a fantastic mood.
Always cheery.
Exactly. But yes, Laura, the good people of Twitter can now find you.
Yay!
On Twitter. You were putting it together before the show, and now you are ready to roll. And so they can find you at intern Laura BGSS.
Yes, I am on the Twitter now.
On said Twitter.
The Ohio State.
No, it's not the Ohio State. Let it go, Grant. Anyway. So, Laura, for your first segment as Laura's thingamabopper badooper there, what do you have for us?
Well, so basically for this segment, I'm just kind of I'm going to bestow some information on you. Just something really interesting that you might not know about the world of sports. So the first thing that I have found dates all the way back to, it's not this century, it dates all the way back to 1525.
Holy cow.
Jeez.
Back to King Henry VIII.
Someone's a little overcommitted here. Holy cow.
Okay, I did my research. All the way back to King Henry VIII, the man who had all those wives. And well, actually, when he died, he had someone have an account of all the clothing that he ever had, and on that account was soccer shoes.
Oh,
as they would call football.
All right.
But soccer shoes way back then would have been a lot different. They would have been bigger, bulkier, because soccer, was a lot more aggressive.
Very much so. It's kind of like hockey nowadays.
Kind of, yeah. I'm like a little bit of a rugby feel.
Okay, makes sense, sure.
Yeah, so I just thought that was really interesting, just imagining this man in this big Victorian poofy collar with his soccer shoes, right?
I would pay good money to play soccer. I don't know if I would pay money. People have to pay me good money to play soccer nowadays in big poofy Victorian clothing.
No, I can see it. I can see it.
Yeah, I might.
I'd want to see that.
I think you'd be into that.
I'd want to see that.
Gosh. Maybe the uniforms for the next intramural soccer team that I play for might have to have that or something. I'm not sure.
Yes.
The Victorian, the King Henry VIII something or others. I'm not exactly
What
sure.
I do want to see is I want to see indoor soccer. I want to see them put pads on and just hit each other like hockey. That's what I want to see.
Because they play on a hockey-style rink, basically.
They do, and you could set it up just like hockey. I think it would be so cool. I want to see it.
I would be interested to see that. I probably wouldn't play, but have you seen the big like plastic bubble soccer? Where they,
I was thinking about that, but I wasn't going to say anything.
They put like a big orb basically around them, and it covers you up to your knees, or I'm sorry, down to your knees.
It's like a giant hamster
and then
ball.
you run around like this, and you just like bump into people, and it's crazy.
Go flying.
People
looks
get
like
knocked
fun.
out. Yeah, it's crazy. You'll have to Google it after the show.
All right.
It's a good time. It's a great time. But all right. Well, anything else for us, Laura? You got a.
No, that's my only tidbit of
Okay.
information.
Well, wait. We appreciate your tidbit of information. Do you want to hang around and play What If with us?
Oh, I would love to.
Oh, terrific. Grant, what is your What If for Laura and I?
All right. My what if is what if the NFL adds European teams? Would this be the NFL? Would this be worse or better for the NFL?
I think it would be worse
Why is that?
because America is football, Grant. America. I
American
understand.
football.
American woman. That's something else. Anyway, American football, not soccer, football. Going to London like it has right now to play in Wembley Stadium is great for building the international stage that is football, the NFL. But putting NFL teams over there, kind of similar like what the NBA is trying to do right now as well. They want to add expansion teams. There's just going to be too big of a gap. And then you almost have to create an entirely different NFL over there.
Right.
And it just would be, the level of play would be worse, and it's just, I don't feel like it's that big over there. Soccer is massive in Europe, and it just would not have a chance to gain any traction.
Well, my thing with it is they have a couple of the games that they have, and that's like big. But if you have it on a regular basis, I think it would kind of lose a little bit of its popularity. And
It
also, teams that play like Monday night and then they go and play a Thursday night game, but having to go overseas.
Yeah, two
to
of
play
those
that.
days are your travel days, basically,
Right.
and you have to recover from jet lag, and that can affect your playing abilities all the time.
And so you get to study and practice for one day.
Woo!
That would be awful.
Yes, absolutely. Well, my what if to both of you, and then Laura, we need to have yours as well. So if you haven't thought of one yet, you need to. My what if to both of you is
Throwing her on the spot.
I know, exactly. That's why I got to test her out here. What if the Buffalo Bills had won all 4 of the Super Bowls they've been to?
I think it poses the question if the Vikings won all 4 Super Bowls.
Exactly. I can hear Connor somewhere just going, I wish the Vikings would have won.
But they didn't, so now nobody cares about them.
Exactly. Same for the Bills, too. But what
Right,
if the Buffalo
exactly.
Bills had won all 4 Super Bowls they went to consecutively?
I think the franchise would be better as a whole.
Yes.
You would have a little bit more history instead of, we are a team that went to 4 Super Bowls and lost all 4.
Yes.
You get to say that, hey, we won some. This is something that you can build off of. Even after a Super Bowl win, even though they didn't make it to the Super Bowl after a Super Bowl win, I believe it's a little bit more momentum going into the next season, and it just gives the franchise as a whole a little bit better of a look.
You are correct, sir. All right.
Oh, no.
Intern Laura, what is your what if today?
Well, since you're putting me on the spot,
You're welcome.
what if Elizabethan collars were still used in soccer today? Do you think that this would affect like gift shops? Like, do you think that they would be selling like Real Madrid Elizabethan collars?
I think Messi might be able to get away with biting people a little bit more.
Luis Suarez.
No,
you
it
mean.
was-
It's not Messi.
No,
I
no.
guarantee you it's not Messi.
Was it? Excuse.
Luis Suarez.
Anyway, not Messi.
I think the impact.
No,
would be
yeah,
huge.
not Messi. 'Cause it was not Argentina. It was.
He plays for Argentina. No,
Does
he
he?
plays for Uruguay.
I was
sorry.
gonna
Luis
say-
Suarez plays for Uruguay.
Yeah, I was gonna say, was
And
in
he-
Argentina?
Yes, and he bit, I can't think of his, Giorgio Chiellini in the World Cup.
Right. This shows how much I know about soccer.
Yeah.
I knew somebody
She's-
bit somebody.
Laura's over here like Real Madrid. I'm like, it's Real Madrid, but thank you. And then he's like, Lionel Messi bites people. Yes, Grant, the best player in soccer bites people.
Hey, I wouldn't be shocked. It's soccer players.
Okay. There it is. Wow. I don't know what to do with both of you right now.
Well, they're not as bad as baseball players.
We never really answered Laura's question.
You didn't.
We never.
I
I did.
Okay.
I did. After making shots at soccer and baseball players.
All right, so Laura, if said Elizabethan collars were a thing, I feel like the game would not be as quick, as it were. I think it would be a fun novelty to own. Say that you have a Real Madrid Elizabethan collar.
Neck collar.
Would you wear that as you watch your soccer?
Yes, I would. Yeah. I would. I feel like it'd be more just an England thing, though, because Elizabethan, England,
yes.
da-da-da, you know, Real Madrid, Spain, kind of probably wouldn't work out too well. They had their monarch and everything. That didn't end up too well for them. But, yeah, I don't know. I feel like you could... I wouldn't really know what to do exactly if I wore said collar while I played the beautiful game. Grant, did you have a thought?
Yeah, I just wanted to make a little thought if you were all done with your Elizabethan collar
She
talk.
brought it up!
I have some actual sports that we can talk about.
Okay.
You put me on the spot. I mean, that's what you get.
I get what I pay for, I suppose. Anyway, what do you have, Grant?
I was just going to bring up a little point of the Minnesota Wild are making a really big push at the end of the season. They were 10 points behind at one point in the season. It was before the All-Star break. 10 points behind, in a wild card spot. Now, two nights ago, they put up 6 points in the third period.
Wow.
And which
is very unheard of. Scoring more than, we've had this conversation before, scoring more than even 3 goals in a hockey game is kind of landmark.
Well, not extremely landmark, but it's not an easy feat to do. It doesn't happen all the time. But like six goals is like a landmark.
Sure,
and
yeah.
Doing it all in one period, and there weren't even any empty netter goals. So it was all on a goaltender. It was fantastic. It was really well done play, and that game actually moved the Wild into the playoff. Last night there was a lot of games, so I don't know if they're still in the playoff right now. But yeah, it's
good for them.
It's fantastic for them. They went and picked up a goaltender, Dubnyk.
Bless you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I believe his name is Dubnyk. And he has done fantastically for the Wild. They went and picked him up on a trade. I forget from who, but they went and picked him up, and he's played fantastic. He has a save percentage over 900, I believe.
Wow.
And yeah, he's doing fantastic.
Quite the player, though.
Because the Wild didn't have solid goaltending, and that's why they were dropping a lot of their games. And people are calling for the managers or the head coach's head, which they do every season at this point, because the Wild are like, they're the wild card team that kind of does that, then has a late surge, and so it happens every year.
The Wild are a wild card team.
I see what you did there.
You did it first.
I did not. You. This guy.
Me. Oh, okay. I see how it is. It's always my fault.
It is always your fault.
Why is it always my fault, Grant?
Because I don't like you.
Why always me? I need a shirt. Why always me, Grant? Grant always picks on me. That's
I
just
do.
a typical day at the Bax and Grant Sports Show. My goodness. All right, well, it's been another exciting edition of the Bax and Grant Sports Show. Intern Laura, thank you so much.
Oh, thanks for having me.
For all that you do. We'll have to... I don't know if we want to change your title of your segment, the Laura's Thingamabopper. It is, because it's a mystery. We never know what we're going to get with you.
I like to be unpredictable and mysterious.
Oh, goodness. I don't know how that works out for us, but...
I think, actually, now looking at my score, sorry to interrupt you two, I think the Wild did get dropped out of the spot because they were in contention against the Blackhawks, and the Blackhawks won last night, and Minnesota lost in regulation to Edmonton.
Oh, the Oilers. They'll get you every time.
Even though they won't, because they're awful this season.
Well, then the Wild need to figure their stuff out, I guess.
But, hey, they closed a 10-point gap, which is not easy to do.
That's true. That's very true.
They're still knocking on the door.
But still, plenty of time. We'll have to see if the Minnesota Wild can find their way through the wilderness and into the NHL playoffs. Another exciting edition of the Bax and Grant Sports Show presented by Sports Radio America. Remember, check us out on Facebook. Like the Bax and Grant Sports Show Facebook page. Vote for who your favorite guest has been so far on the show. Intern Laura, who's your favorite guest?
I can't tell.
She can't tell?
It's a secret.
Is it your...
Is it yourself? You can't vote for yourself.
We still have to talk about this Dallas problem.
Yeah, we got to work on that.
I don't like them.
It's a working issue for them. Anyway, check us out on Twitter at BG Sports Show and email the show at bgsportsshow@gmail.com. Grant, anything else you got for us?
Go Pack Go.
Go Pack Go. That's the best way to close the show. For Grant and intern Laura, this is Bax. We will see you all on Friday. Have a great rest of your day, everyone.